Hey everyone, we're live here on the SCIF. As you can tell, Matt is not here this evening. He had some stuff come up personally, and he's taking care of that. Hopefully, he'll be able to uh, take the helm next week because unfortunately, I'm going to be out next week. I've got a conference. I'm going to be out of town, and the uh, time change difference won't really allow me to partake. So in the event that Matt's tied up and I'm tied up next week, we won't be here, but rest assured we will be back as soon as possible. Um, Sorry, my camera's a little wonky. I just literally walked in the door. I'd gotten up with some people to go for a ride with the motorcycles. Hadn't been out for a while, so I wanted to go, and I walked in with about 3 minutes before showtime. So I was cutting it close, and it has my default webcam. So I don't have my external. And rather than mess around with it and delay the show any further, we're running with the default laptop webcam. For those of you that don't know, the Green Beret Life is a 501c3. Their primary goal is to provide 2A training for first responders, military, their family, that sort of thing. Matt puts on classes, shotgun, pistol, rifle, self-defense, CCW, that sort of thing. Wherever you may be, he can probably get there. If you have a large enough group to make it, financially viable, he can get there and put on the training. Matt was Army Special Forces for several years. He's been there, done that on more than one occasion, and he brings that expertise to the classes that he teaches. It's going to be a little weird. This is, I think, probably the first show I've really probably put on by myself. So I'm used to having Matt here to play off of. It's just going to be me. I apologize if I ramble or if I start getting a little bit nonsensical. Sorry, that's me. That's the way I am. We've got a few shows a few stories that I found and wanted to put together. I was really hoping Matt would be here because one of them was one he was really interested in talking about. It was the Vista Outdoors. We've talked about it a couple of times on here. They're one of the primary ammunition manufacturers for the U.S., and there's been a lot of back and forth with a foreign entity purchasing them. We're going to talk about that. We've got the Hunter Biden verdict, which has come in, and we're going to talk about that because I've seen in a couple of different areas, a couple of different outlets where they want to play it as if the Biden or Hunter being convicted of these 3 felonies is in violation of the Second Amendment, that gun rights activists should be opposed to it. I'm going to talk about that, a couple of different things. There's I don't know, I'm maybe leaning into their camp 30%, but 70% against, maybe 20 in their camp, 80% against. We'll talk about that a little bit, kind of what some of the narratives are and why they're saying we should be supporting Hunter Biden. And they're gonna have to dig deep to get me there, but they're trying. Another one we're looking at is the Supreme Court in Washington State is taking on a magazine, high capacity magazine ban. And this is always what they try and do. I think I won't say they've come to the realization because they'll never stop fighting to get there. But I think for the moment, if that's the best way to phrase it, they've kind of given up on trying to outright ban things. Now, California, that's its own monster, and Washington State, I think they're kind of just, infected. Well, let me move my mic closer. I'm not sure how well I'm coming in. I don't know if that's better or not. Hopefully it is. Hey, Troy's Lab, what's up, man? Yep, I'm flying solo today. Hopefully, do Matt proud, and I won't burn the podcast down to the waterline. We'll do what we can with what we have to work with over here. But it seems like anyone that's not in Looney Tunesville has realized, right now, they're not going to be able to outright ban weapons and firearms. So what they've decided to do is they're going to chip away at the edges. They create terms that mean nothing to anyone but them and their parrots in the media and such, with assault weapons, you know, a weapon that is fully semi-automatic, 30 round magazine clips that holds, 40 dozen shells. It gets to be ridiculous nonsense because it's obvious about the third or fourth word in as to whether or not this person's ever even picked up a firearm or not. And probably about 95, 96% of them have never touched a firearm in their lives. If you laid one on the table, they treat it as if it were a snake that was going to jump up and bite them. And it gets to be a bit ridiculous. It gets to be, you know, one of those things that you're constantly fighting against the narrative. You're constantly trying to explain what to you and I is it's simple mechanics. It's no, this is what it does. These words mean things. These are not weapons of war. If you wanted to be technical about it, a freaking bow and arrow is a weapon of war. A sharp stick is a weapon of war. What do you where are you stopping your definitions? Because nothing that you or I can go to the local lead dispensary and fill out our background check and walk out the door with is a weapon of war. Yes, maybe some of the pistols that we use are there, but there's nothing that we can pick up, that is automatic. There's nothing that we can just pick up without paying Uncle Sam his due, and the $200 tax stamp is going to be, an M4, a short barreled rifle, a carbine, anything like that. It gets really frustrating dealing with the lunacy. And I used to really think that these people that they didn't know what they were talking about. And for some of them, I still think they don't. But I've kind of reached the point to where I'm not looking at it. I think it's now a malicious ignorance in the fact that they know what they're talking about is incorrect, but they also know that the people that they're speaking to will not know that. So they know they're lying. We know they're lying, but unfortunately, the audience, which is not us, doesn't know that. And you can talk to someone that is against guns, that is against firearms, that is against Trump, that is, whatever, as a conservative, as a Republican, however you want to define yourself, the things that we stand for, there are the people out there that, they believe different. But a lot of times, whenever you start asking particulars and start drilling down and start, using logic, well, you start asking the why questions. There really isn't an answer. It kind of falls short because they don't know why. All they know is what they've been told. They don't know the reasoning. They don't know the rationale. They don't know the belief behind it. It's what they've been told. And a lot of times it really falls into it's not a fact-based debate or argument. And I use the term argument, in the debate standpoint, to where, you're arguing your point, the other person is arguing their point, and you're working to try and convince, the person to, come to your side and understand where you're coming from. They don't understand the argument. It's only that this is what they've been told to say, so that's what they say. And as soon as you get as soon as you get through the skin of that argument, there's nothing there. It then becomes I feel or I think, with no facts to back it up. It's all what they've been told to feel and what they've been told to think. Well, you shouldn't like this because. And that's really hard to fight against. Ben Shapiro has, when it first came out, everybody was like, "Oh, Shapiro dunked it with his, facts don't care about your feelings," and that is true to an extent. That cold hard facts, it doesn't really matter how you feel about it. That fact is still the fact. The problem is the people we're trying to reach, the people we're trying to communicate with. The inverse is also true. Their feelings don't care about your facts, and by that I mean it doesn't matter the statistics that you can spit, the numbers, the studies, whatever it is, because they are stuck in, they feel this way. It makes them feel a certain way, and that's as far as they go. There isn't any really uh there isn't really any introspection into, why do I feel this way? Why do I think this way? What's happened to convince me of this? It's simply, thing bad, me not like. That's it. That's as far as the uh, the thought process really gets. That's as deep as it goes. Um, and honestly, guys, it's probably going to be a shorter show because since Matt isn't here, we're going to throw him under the bus. He's normally the reason the show runs long. Normally I've kind of got my stuff together. Just in and out, giving you nothing but the facts and that sort. But um, I don't know if you guys will stay active in the chat. Like I said, I normally have Matt here to play off of. He and I give each other a hard time and and enjoy giving each other grief. You guys post up in the chat. You guys come up with anything. Um, if there's anything other than the three stories that I have, because as I said, I only have three stories put together. Normally Matt will come in with one or two, and we'll wind up with a mixture of the three or four or five stories, depending on how quickly we can get through them. Unfortunately, I found out as I was almost literally walking out of the door to go for my bike ride that Matt wasn't going to be here, and I really only had the three stories I had found to cover. Kind of expecting him to pull in a couple, but unfortunately, circumstances didn't work out. But I will say, I did come in the door. My wife knew I was running late, and she had my drink ready for me, so um, we're good to go for this evening. Um, Let me see. What can we? I think we can probably talk about the Vista Outdoors story, and be safe for YouTube. It's kind of I mean, yes, it's the scary pew pew seeds, and we all know how YouTube is about any things that go pew pew. They get panties twisted. But Vista Outdoors for a while has had, and honestly, I picked the story up for Matt because he knows this inside and out. So I'm going to be trying to give you my spin on it, which is not nearly as educated as what Matt will be able to spin out for you. But Vista Outdoors has been working to sell. They're a huge ammunition company. They Well, I take that back. I believe they have a lot of different areas, with ammunition being one of them, and they've been trying to spin off their ammunition portion. And if I remember right from Matt, there was a Czech company, aerospace company, maybe if I remember correctly. You guys please fact check me because um, I'm getting old and forgetful. I believe it was a Czech company that Matt said had been reaching out to buy it. Then there was another company that had actually offered more than this Czech company per share for it. And there was some. It seemed to be a little bit shady because on the surface of it, if you're doing what's in the best interest of the shareholders, you're going to take the higher offer. That's making the more money for the people that have invested in you, the people that put their money to help you grow your business. And it seemed like there was some hesitancy. There were things not being. It almost seemed like not being straightforward, not being on the up and up. But the one thing here, they're saying, this unnamed bidder, which had made a previous offer, which I'm assuming that, okay, my computer's flaking out on me. The unnamed bidder, which had made the previous offer, said it would pay more than $2 billion for the Kinetic Group, which was Vista Outdoors product company, as a standalone entity. Um, Vista rejected the Vista board rejected the latest revised bid by U.S. based investment group of more than $3 billion for the entire company. Um, Again, I hate that I apologize. I hate that I brought this, or that this story came up when Matt isn't here, because he knows this particular story much better than I do. I found it and brought it up because I knew he would be on it like a dog with a bone. But it looks like there's still a lot of moving pieces here. The big concern that we have is offshoring the ownership of companies that manufacture our ammunition. And as Matt said, the one that was the big concern with the one that had the Czech company that had really put in the offer before this had started up was the fact that they were an aerospace company. And it was their concern came into the fact of, if an aerospace company is looking for contracts, especially for the US government, and they're being told on the side, hey, we really want you guys to have this contract. We really like what you guys are putting together, but we wish you guys weren't doing quite so much for the commercial ammunition market. That's a little problematic for us. Those kind of conversations can definitely dial back what we're able to do. And with it being, a minuscule part of this overall company, there's no reason why they wouldn't dial back what they're producing and what they're putting out. They lose $1 billion to make 10 billion. Why not? You're still net 9. And that's the primary concern, is that you have a foreign entity that has no vested interest in the United States, in our Second Amendment, and what it means to us, that will be potentially in control of this. And it can be a very scary thing if something like that were to happen. And we've all been through ammo shortages. A lot of us started to reload. I don't really reload 5.56 or 9 millimeter. It's just, I probably should, if nothing else, have the components on hand for dire circumstances. I mean, I have the ability to, I just don't really have the components, because it's it's not it's I guess if you had a multi-stage press and you were really really pumping them out, it would be worth it, the time invested versus the dollars saved. But as I've gotten older, my time gets better spent elsewhere. There are other things I'd rather be doing than sitting in front of a reloading press, especially a single stage trying to pump out 9 millimeter. But that's the big thing, and I think that would probably be Matt's big question. With this, is what's going to happen if this winds up being um, a foreign entity with their primary business being something that would potentially be a um, big U.S. government contract vehicle, or they'd be looking for contracting opportunities with the government. And the concern is that they could possibly be nudged, and a little wink wink, nudge nudge, and things start getting more difficult to find. That's what we really don't want to happen, because the when the ammo shortages come up, when those things happen, it it really just puts a dampener on everything. Um, People cut down on range trips. People cut down on training. they cut down on staying proficient because you don't know when you're going to be able to replace the ammunition that you've expended in your training, in your class, in your whatever. Because it's very easy to go to, if you're shooting USPSA or IDPA or just practicing for either, it's a couple of hundred rounds a week is that's a drop in the bucket. It's the round count can get really high really quickly, and people aren't going to do that if they're worried about being able to replace ammunition. They're going to start sitting on things. They're going to start holding on to it, and having a foreign entity like that in charge of it that could be subject to, like I said, a little bit of that friendly pressure of, well, hey, we'll just take and we like that, but we don't like that a whole lot. And unfortunately, that's the way it works, and that's the things that we deal with on a regular basis. And it's the way our it's the way our government works, unfortunately, and we have to deal with it. Now, with the ammunition side out of the way, now comes the component that you put the ammunition into. Um, Washington State is hearing a court case concerning the banning of what they are proclaiming to be high capacity magazines. You and I know them as magazines because that's what comes with the gun. That's what's always come with the gun. That's what forever and always has come with the gun is a 30 round magazine. Um, the the only way they become, quote unquote high capacity magazines is because of the fact of the they people, countries like California and that sort of thing had started passing laws to reduce it. So they had come up with, 15 round magazines, 10 round magazines, that sort of thing. So now these by default have become the scary high capacity clip holder things. And I'm sorry, it looks like my internet's lagging, and I'm trying to see if I have any devices that are pulling a lot, but it looks like I don't. It's just that I'm in the woods and internet sucks. So I apologize if things are jumpy, if switching over to the web pages and scrolling, it's flaking out. We do the best we can with what we have to work with out here in the woods. But yeah, so they've started taking and deciding that what you and I see as a standard capacity magazine, it's an AR magazine. It is what it is, and they've determined that, oh no, because we've now passed laws in you know California and other ridiculous liberal enclaves that we think they should only hold 10 rounds. Anything over that we can now say is a high capacity magazine. And right here we've got where the Washington State Supreme Court has agreed to directly review a lower court ruling that invalidated the state's ban on the sale of ammunition magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. So we've had a court that has said, no, this isn't right. You can't do this. But now the Supreme Court of Washington State has taken up this case. Washington State's a fairly liberal state. Like every other state, there are bastions of freedom and conservatism, but the problem is conservatives tend to be self-reliant, they tend to be self-sufficient, and they don't tend to congregate in the cities where government services, government handouts, and that sort of thing are prevalent. So the thing is, and you can look at it. You can look at maps of the country by voting. The blue and red maps that break out by county and by region. And, I can specifically speak to Georgia. That's where I am. If you look at Georgia, almost the entire state is red, with the exception of Atlanta, Savannah, and Athens. Atlanta is obviously the capital of Georgia. Savannah has two colleges there. There's the Savannah Institute of Art and Design, and Georgia Southern are there. And then in Athens, you have the University of Georgia. So you've got young people from all over that, for whatever, unfortunately, they don't have the life experience. And when you don't have life experience, you tend to rely on those people that do. And we all know what is pretty much funding uh, our school systems now. And you know what? I just realized I'm still on YouTube, and I don't want to get into anything that is going to get us a nasty gram. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to Rumble and Odysee. We've been streaming on all three. We normally do the first 10 to 15 minutes on YouTube and introduce ourselves, introduce the show, the topics that we're going to be covering. And we normally try and cover at least one story on YouTube. The problem is YouTube has gotten so, I guess, schizophrenic with their interpretation and their enforcement of the rules. You never know what's going to violate that rule, and you never know what is going to retroactively violate the rules, because they've been known to go back, you know, 6, 12, 12 months, 2 years into your back catalog and finding something that they've determined violates their terms of service. And obviously, they never tell you what you did or give you a time hack of, hey, at this video at the 1 hour and 15 mark, you said XYZ, which violates our terms of service. They don't do that. You get a generic, this video violated our community standards, which is absolutely worthless in trying to determine what you said that may have, torqued someone so that you can, modify your presentation, change the way you speak about things, which is unfortunate, because that is a curb on free speech. When you start controlling what or how people talk about things, you can start controlling what they talk about and how they talk about. And that's why we give, limited exposure to YouTube. We do like coming over there. We do like speaking to everyone, and we start giving everyone the nudge over to Rumble and or Odysee. Down in the description, there should be a link to the Rumble channel. You can click there. It should bring you right up. If that doesn't work for you, you can go to rumble.com, look for Green Beret Life. We're streaming there now. I'm going to go ahead and kill the YouTube. And if you guys were here a couple of weeks ago, you would remember that whenever I went to kill YouTube, I killed the entire stream. And I've been working on that, been working on myself, trying to better myself. And I'm going to try not to do that anymore. We are going to pop smoke and not frag. So we're going to pop out and jump off of YouTube. We'll be directly on to Odysee and Rumble. We'll see you guys over there here in just a moment. Let me get this. Like I said, my network is slow, so I don't know. That is not what I want to do. I apologize. My computer is stupid tonight. Let me try this way and see if this works. It's always fun whenever you click. Yeah, that's not it either. It's always fun when you click and you've got to wait the 15 seconds for the window to close. And I don't know why that is. Let me see if I can. Yep. All right, let's remove YouTube. And again, I apologize. Computer has decided that it is going